What is up, guys? My name is Lex. We are here at Seminole Hard Rock in Hollywood, Florida, starting off this poker session at 2-5. Before we move over to the 5-10 game, first hand we have King Jack offsuit, under the gun +1, limps in for $5. I raised to $20. Big blind calls 20, under the gun +1 calls 20. Three ways to our first flop, which is King 10-4, 2 diamonds. We flop top pair. Pretty simple so far. We raise pre-flop, flop top pair, we're gonna bet it. I make it $40. Big blind makes to fold, and under the gun +1 makes to call. The turn is a king of clubs, now giving us trips. Under the gun +1 has about $160 left in his stack, and he doesn't check over to me. He leads out super tiny for $20. You honestly have no idea what you're gonna see here in the 2-5 streets at Hard Rock. Last video, an opponent let out for $10 on the flop, turn, and river. Trying to bluff with queen high, we called him down with ace high and we were good. So there's definitely some weird stuff going on in the 2-5 streets over here. Now we do have trips. My opponent has about $150 left. I could call and underrep my hand, but I feel like this is kind of a blocker size bet from him. Maybe he's doing this with a straight draw, a flush draw, a weaker king, possibly a 10. So I just raise it up real small here to $60. He doesn't think for too long and just folds. We take down the first pot. The next two hands we play here at 2-5 are against the same exact player, and I'm going to give you guys a description of him. We're going to call him seat number 5. He's there on the left-hand side in the blue sweater. He's an older Asian male, and he is aggressive. He's been playing basically every single hand. I have no idea if he's running really good or if he's just blasting off because I haven't really seen any of his showdowns. He played a huge all-in pot earlier and lost. He rebought and basically has been playing every single hand since then. The first big pot we play here was seat number 5. Like I said, he has been very active this entire day. He makes it $20 in middle position. I have queen 10 of diamonds in the small blind. I elect to go with a 3-bet here to $75. Sometimes I would call, but against this player, I want a 3-bet. He ends up making the call, so we're heads up out of position to a 9-6-3 2 diamond board. We flop 2 overcards and the queen high flush draw. Pretty good board for me. I continue for $70. He doesn't think for too long and makes the call. The pot is getting bigger. I would love to see some help on the turn, but we do not get it. It's the deuce of spades, a pretty big brick unless he does have 4-5 suited. He did make a straight. I'm going to continue with the aggression here. I have 2 overcards and the queen high flush draw. If he just has a single pair hand, I want to try to put some pressure on that particular hand. So I continue for $100. Now seat number 5 leans back in his chair a little bit, squiggles around, looks over at me, looks at his chips and his sides. He wants to play for more. He raises me here to $300. Interesting, I wasn't really expecting that. If he did have a single pair hand like 10s or jacks or king 9, ace 9, I just don't think he's going to be calling on the flop and then trying to raise here on the turn after I double barrel. So I'm pretty sure he has hands like 2 pairs, sets, maybe straights, and possibly some bluffs. Like I said, this guy is very active. I think we just have one choice here is to call. If I had the nut flush draw or a combo draw, I would just consider ripping it all in. But with about $500 left in his stack to play for, I make the call for $200 more, looking for a diamond, which we do not get. It's a 7 of clubs. I check over to him. He jams all in for about $600, and we fold. All right, we are 0 for 1 against seat number 5. He's been running pretty good now, building up a stack, and we look down at pocket kings. Seat number 5 straddles on the button. It's $10. Small blind makes the call for $10. I decide to just raise to $35 here, a smaller raise, looking to get some action. This table has been playing very tight, and action we get. Button, seat number 5, action player makes the call, and small blind makes the call as well. 3 ways to a dreadful ace-high board. Doesn't mean I'm always beat here, though. Still a lot of hands I can get value from, especially from an active player in seat number 5. So I continue for a small bet of $40. The button, seat number 5, makes the call, and the small blind makes the fold. Like I said before, when you're holding pocket kings and there's an ace on the board, doesn't mean that you're always beat. So when the turn is a queen of diamonds, there's now a flush draw on board. I consider checking over to him. If he was a tight player, I would probably just check. But against this guy, I decide to continue to bet. If I bet, I can get called by a lot of worse hands, straight draws, 8x hands, flush draws, queen x hands that he might have. If I check over to him, he could potentially try to bluff me, and I might be in a pretty tough spot. So I continue here for $125, and now the button, seat number 5, goes into the tank and pulls out the raise again. He raises us here on the turn for the second time in a half an hour. He makes it $350. Not the best spot to be in. We are most likely always behind here. Against a tighter reg at 2-5, I would snap fold my pocket kings, but like I said, this guy is here for some action. He has been betting big on turns and rivers and raising and going all in, and no one's called him yet. So we all have no idea if he's just blasting off and bluffing, or if he's just running like God and winning every single hand. So sitting here with pocket kings, there is still some hands he could be doing this with that we're beating. Maybe 6-7 of diamonds, Jack 10 of diamonds. I don't like that I have the king of diamonds because I block some of his flush draws he could be doing this with. I think this is just a fold a lot of the time, but I decided to get sticky. I call here looking to see what he's going to do on the river. I usually grind 5-10 or 10-25, and I want to say this without sounding too big time, and I think a lot of you guys will agree with me that when you're used to playing a higher stake and you drop back down to a lower stake while waiting for your higher stake game, you just tend to play a little bit more loose and not as good. And I feel like that happens to me all the time at 2-5 because the money doesn't mean as much to me like it used to be. I'm used to playing much bigger pots and calling much bigger raises, so I make big mistakes pre-flop, post-flop, and on the river, and I feel like this is one of those times. If I was playing 5-10-25 and someone raised me to $1,000 on the turn with pocket kings, I would just fold. But given the fact that it was only $200 more, I got sticky and most likely made a bad call. We're heads up to the river, which is a 3, a total break. I check over to him, and eventually he decides to check back, so maybe he was bluffing. Nope, not this time. He shows ace-8 of diamonds for 2 pair. He completely schools us. He takes down this pot. I add on to my stack for the second time this session. I'm in the game for about $2,000, down about $1,000 so far before we get a seat in a new 5-10 game. So I head over there, buy in for $2,500. Let's try to get some of our money back. About 10 hands in to this new 5-10 table, I look down at ace of clubs, queen of spades, and the hijack. I make it $35, a standard opening size. Small blind calls 35, big blind calls 35, 3 ways to a queen high board. We flop top pair, top kicker, backdoor nut flush draw. Pretty good board for me. When they check to me, I bet $75. Small blind calls 75, big blind makes to fold. Heads up now to the 6 of clubs on the turn. When the small blind checks over to me, an interesting spot. There's 3 clubs on the board, but we do have the ace of clubs. If we bet here and the small blind check raises us, we can call because we have the nut flush draw, but I elect to check this one back. We see a 7 on the river. Small blind checks to me again, and now I want to go for thin value against his 10x, his weaker queen x holdings. I bet $115, and he very quickly folds. We get a little bit of our money back. Over the last year or so, as the travel restrictions have lifted, the Hard Rock 5-10 games have been a big travel destination for European pro poker players. They usually come in packs and play for a couple weeks or a couple months. They play basically every single day. This week there is a new group that came from Spain, and I've never seen these guys before. The next hand we play is up against one of these new Euro pros. I haven't seen much of him playing, but he seems to be quite aggressive, 3-betting somewhat often, and seems like he knows what he's doing. There's a limp from early position. He races to $50 in the cutoff with about a $1,400 stack. Button with about an $800 stack makes the call, and we look down at pocket jacks in the small blind versus a cutoff open. I want to be 3-betting here. I decided to go $200. Normally I would 3-bet out of position to 4x and then add 1x for every caller in between. So I would usually go about 5 or 6x here, so about a $300 raise. This time I decided to go $200 because the cutoff player only has about 130 big blinds and the button player only has about 80 big blinds. By going smaller here with my 3-bet, I allow my opponents to call with worse hands and not feel pot committed. The action folds back to the European pro who opened up the action in the cutoff, and he wants to be pot committed. He jams all in here, a 4-bet all in for $1,400. Wasn't really expecting that. The button doesn't think for too long now and jams his $850 stack in there. So there's a raise, a re-raise, a 4-bet all in, a call all in, and now the action is back on us with pocket jacks. We have to call about $1,200 more. Given the fact that this is a cutoff open, a button call, and a 3-bet out of the small blind, the cutoff player could be 4-bet jamming here with a wide range of hands. He can have pocket 10s, pocket 9s, ace queen, ace jack, ace king, ace 5 suited. I'm just never folding pocket jacks here, so eventually I make the call. I have no idea if I'm ahead or behind. I don't know if I have to fade an ace or a queen or a king on the flop, or maybe I have to hit a jack and try to catch up against pocket queens or pocket kings or aces. The dealer collects the main pot and then makes a side pot. We're all in here 3 ways to the flop. Board is 6-3-7, no overcards yet. Turn 5 of diamonds. River is a jack. We make a set. I show my pocket jacks for top set. The cutoff player mucks, so we're going to be winning the side pot. And the main pot, the button shows pocket tens. We've got him beat. He makes the fold, and we end up taking down over $3,700 pot. We are stuck about $1,000. Moved over to the 5-10 game. Got in a pretty great spot here. Hit top set on the river. Took down a big one. Our stack now is a little over $5,000. Unfortunately, after this hand, we run cold for a while. Don't pick up any playable hands. About 2 hours later, I get ace king. Finally, we got something to work with. The same European pro who we stacked with pocket jacks makes it $30. I re-raise to $100. He makes the call heads up in position to king 9-5 2 clubs. We flop top pair, best kicker. He checks over to me on this board in a 3-bet pot in position. I'm just going to be betting 100% of the time. There's so many hands I can get called from. Worse hands like king jack, king queen, a 9, pocket tens, pocket jacks, flush draws, straight draws. I throw out $115. My opponent in middle position makes the call. Heads up to the 9 on the turn, pairing the board. He checks over to me. Interesting spot whether I want to continue to bet or check. When I 3-bet pre-flop, I'm going to have a lot of strong ace-x holdings, big pocket pairs, and suited broadways. I'm not really going to have many 9x holdings here. He's going to have a lot more 9x hands like pocket 9s, 7-9 suited, 8-9 suited, 9-10 suited, jack-9 suited. I decide to check. I think it's hard to get called by a worse hand for 3 streets on this board against this player in a 3-bet pot. By checking back the turn, I can also potentially induce a bluff by him on the river, or maybe he'll call me down lighter, thinking that I'm bluffing the river. The last card is the 10 of spades. The front door flush does miss, but we're now losing to pocket 10s and queen jack, but he decides to check to me. I feel like he would lead out with all of his straights, his trips, and his full houses, and given the fact that he's checking to me, he most likely has showdown value here, maybe a weaker king or a 10, so I bet big, trying to get called by those hands. I make it $500. My thoughts at the time is that if he checked the river, if he has showdown value, I want to bet big, a polarized bet to hopefully level him into a call with maybe king jack, ace 10, queen 10. He goes into the tank for a while, which is good news for us. It looks like he's contemplating a call or a fold. He thinks for about a minute and a half. He's staring me down hardcore, and eventually he decides to go all in. I was definitely not expecting that. I was hoping he was going to call and we were going to get some more of those European dollars. I just feel like he's never bluffing here. I can just have the nuts a lot of the time. I can have pocket kings. I can have pocket tens. So this is just a suicide bluff by him. If he's trying to bluff, it's about $1,000 more for me to call. He can have a full house, he can have a straight, he can have trips. With ace king here, I just don't think it's ever any good, so I make a pretty quick fold. I ask him what he had. He tells me in Spanish he had a very good hand, so I'll believe him. Our chips are going in his direction. I want to hear what you guys think about this hand. If you play it the way I did, 3-bet pre-flop, bet the flop, check back the turn, bet $500 on the river, and your opponent jams all in for $1,500, would you fold or call? Take a second, pause the video, and comment down below. Moving into the last hand of the night, I really did not want to show you guys this hand because I felt like I butchered it so bad. I just hate the way I play this one, and I'm pretty embarrassed, but I want to show you guys the ups and the downs. I want to be real, so here it goes. Cut off a recreational player makes it $35. Small blind calls. I have 8-9 offsuit in the big blind. I decided to call to try to mix it up with these players. The cutoff player just got stacked and rebought now for $2,500. Flop comes out king 8-4 rainbow. We flop second pair. I check. Cutoff bets $55. Small blind folds. And with a pair, I make the call. Heads up to the turn, which is a deuce. I check over to the cutoff, who continues now for $125. For some reason, I just felt fishy about this bet. I just felt like he may be bluffing here. Maybe hands like ace queen, ace jack, queen jack, jack 10. All these hands he could be double barreling with. When he continues on this turn, he shouldn't have pocket pairs like 9s through queens. He's representing a pretty strong range of aces, kings, ace, king, king, queen. So I get sticky and make the call. The river's an ace, a terrible card. Now we're losing to ace, jack, or ace, queen. I check, and he fires out immediately for $350. My opponent bets pretty big. There's an ace and a king on board. We're sitting here with third pair, 9 kicker. You guys may be wondering, why aren't your cards in the muck yet? It's because I'm in the tank. I'm thinking maybe I should hero call this guy. He's representing such a strong range. He's betting super quick without even thinking. A lot of the time with recreational players, this is indicative of a bluff. He didn't even think for more than 2 seconds on the river before firing out a big bet. But what hands could he be bluffing with? Maybe some suited connectors, maybe some queen high or jack high hands. I don't know. He's stuck money. Maybe he's trying to get his money back. The reason that I'm tanking so long on this river is because the ace is a super polarized card. If he did have a hand like king queen, king jack, king 10, would he ever bet $350 when an ace comes on the river? There's just no way. He could be using this ace as a scare card to get me off a king or a smaller pair. I just feel like he's bluffing. I have this feeling in my gut, and I've gone with my gut in the past. I've made really light call downs with king high, ace high, bottom pair, and I've been good. So this time I decided to listen to my gut. I put in the chips. Let's see what he's got. And this time he shows us ace king, top 2 pair. He completely schools us. We punt off over $500 to the cutoff. I honestly felt like I played pretty bad in this session. I made some pretty bad calls at 2-5, and then now calling here on the turn and the river with just an 8, punting off over $500. I'm not playing my best, so I end up racking up my chips, heading to the cage and cashing out, profiting a little over $500 on this session. So, the title, How Poker Ruined... Hey, I'm doing a outro for my video right now, Dad.
Okay.
All right.
Just, if you want to call me back, that's fine.
All right. All right, see ya.
Thanks, honey.
So somewhat of a clickbait title there, How Poker Ruined My Life, and I'm going to explain that a little bit right now. So at the very young age of like 5 or 6 years old, my dad got me into wrestling, and he wanted me to become the best wrestler I could possibly be. He trained me really tough. He was super intense with it. Never quit, push yourself, be tough, win, 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 win from the very young age, and it worked. I was a very good wrestler. I won national tournaments when I was younger. I won state championships in middle school. I went to high school. I won 3 state championships in the state of Maryland for wrestling. I then got a scholarship to wrestle at Virginia Tech. I wrestled at Virginia Tech 2011 and 2012, and after about 15 years of wrestling, being my entire life, eating, sleeping, breathing wrestling, I got burnt out. I couldn't do it anymore. After 2 years of college, I quit. I mentally, physically just couldn't take it anymore. So my entire life was wrestling for 15 years, and I stopped. And right at this time, I found CrossFit. CrossFit is a competitive program that you can go to competitions and you can compete against other people in different activities: weightlifting, bodybuilding, endurance, running, rowing, skiing, biking, lifting weights, pull-ups, muscle-ups, handstand push-ups, all these things in CrossFit competitions. And you can try to compete against each other and try to be the fittest. And you can also try to make it to the CrossFit Games and become a professional CrossFit Games athlete. The best of the best athletes get paid by sponsorships. They get paid if they win, and their life is CrossFit. They can become a professional athlete in CrossFit. It's like the equivalence of being in the NHL or the NFL, making it to that level. So in 2012, after wrestling, I decided, heck, I'm gonna try to become a professional CrossFit Games athlete. I have the size, I have the strength, I have the mindset, I can do it. So I train. My whole life now is CrossFit. Work hard in the morning, train, go home, eat, sleep, come back, train again. My entire life was now CrossFit, trying to become a professional CrossFitter. I went to all sorts of competitions. I was very close of getting there. I then moved down to Florida in 2016 to try to compete against better people and have a better environment. And I got even better and I trained even more. My entire life was CrossFit. I wasn't quite good enough to get sponsorships or to win money. So in order to work, I had to work odd hours or odd jobs to make money, but I wanted my entire life to be CrossFit, so I didn't work that much. I drove Uber or I worked at the gym a couple hours here and there, and I made very little money, so I was living like paycheck to paycheck. But my dream was try to become a professional CrossFit Games athlete. If I make it there, I can make money and I can do this. And after about 6 years or so of that, being broke and not quite making it, I decided, look, I'm 26 years old. I have no money. I am not quite making it there. I gotta move on. I gotta do something else. I gotta figure something out. And it was at that time that I started playing poker. And I started realizing, man, poker's a lot of fun. I like the competitive aspect of it. I like trying to beat people and the strategy. And then I realized that you can make money off playing poker. People play poker for a living. So my focus changed. I was all into CrossFit, become a CrossFit Games athlete, be a professional CrossFitter, to now being a professional poker player. In 2018, I switched my entire focus and I was all in on poker. I played poker 10 hours a day. I wanted to win. I wanted to be the best, but in the beginning, I sucked. I couldn't win. I was broke. I was losing my money. I was going to work. I was making a little bit of money and coming back, and I was losing it in poker, but I was motivated and I was trying to become a professional poker player. I can do this. I know I can do this. I see people doing it. I just have to keep working hard. And after like 6 months or so of just breaking even, not quite winning, and just like losing and not doing things right, I finally started to become a better player. I finally learned a better strategy. I learned from my mistakes and I got better, and I started making money. And I started making more money, and I started winning, and I started saving up money. My bankroll started growing. And after 6 months, I had $5,000. And after a year, I had $10,000 or $15,000. And I was doing it. But I was putting in so much work. My entire life was poker. I hated to lose. So anytime I lost, I would sleep for 5 or 6 hours, and I would get right back to the poker table. I would play crazy long hours, 10 hours, 12-hour days, because my motivation was to do it. I want to become a professional poker player. I want to do it. I know I can do it. After about a year or so, I was finally doing it. And I put in like 2,800 hours that first year, like an amazing amount of hours. And I did it. I started making money in poker. I started building a bankroll. I started winning. And I paid all my bills with all my poker earnings. But I neglected my old life. My old life was CrossFit gym, CrossFit friends, girlfriend, fitness, all these things that I had from 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. All these things I had, I totally neglected because my whole life was now poker. I only focused on poker, eat, sleep, breathe poker, try to become a professional poker player, and it ruined my old life. I lost friends, I lost my fitness, I became weaker, I didn't work out as much, I neglected my relationship, and my girlfriend and I broke up, unfortunately. So poker ruined that part of my life. But then it also gave me another life. It gave me the ability to make money as my own boss, to use my brain to make money and playing a card game. And it's pretty insane because I lost a part of my life for a certain amount of time, but then I gained so much more. So now, 4 years later, I've been playing poker now for about 4 years professionally. I wouldn't take anything back. I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't do anything different. Like that year that I just grinded out to try to become a professional poker player, that meant something. But now, after a couple years of playing, I play poker full time. I was able to travel around the country and play poker. I make poker videos and make money off of it on YouTube. So yes, it ruined that part of my life, but then it basically gave me something now that I'm able to just play a game and make money. I really enjoy going to work every day. I like playing poker. I like pushing myself. I like that there's always a way to get better and nobody has the game solved and you can always keep pushing yourself. So I don't think I would go back and change anything. I thought about this in the past, like would I go back and try to have more of a balance in that beginning year or so of trying to become a professional poker player? And I don't think so. I don't think I would go back and change it because all those hours I spent in 2018 and 2019 playing poker and pushing myself got me to where I'm at now. If I just kind of casually went through it, I maybe went broke and maybe I don't come back. So I don't regret it. I wouldn't go back and change it. And of course now, 2022, my life is completely different than it was in 2019. I'm way more balanced. Luckily, I have the bankroll that I can take breaks. I only play 3 to 5 hour sessions. I play 4 or 5 times a week. I work out, I go hang out with friends, I have social life and relationships. So, you know, that year of my life, I was just solely focused on becoming a professional poker player, and it ruined my old life, but it gave me the life that I have now. So I can't complain. I wouldn't change anything, but it's pretty crazy. It's pretty wild, and it's kind of cool to think about how things go, and we'll see what happens here in the future. But that is my story of how poker ruined my life. But we're gonna keep pushing it now, keep trying to get better, keep trying to win more money, make better videos for you guys, and play bigger games. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, hit that like button. Comment down below if you have any questions or anything like that. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. And until next time, I'll see you.